Off, did you have any questions or anything about the study guide or the exam for Thursday?
Um, no, I think I pretty much uh, get the grasp of it. But
Okay.
probably, so we will have like a face-to-face like this, and how the exam will work.
So the exam should be on Thursday,
Mhm.
and I don't really think we have to have a meeting for it. I can just send you the document for it, and in fact, I should be able to send you that today, so it might be tomorrow by your time, and
Yes.
you can just take it sometime on Thursday. You could
Mhm.
take it that evening or just whenever you have time. Or you could even take it later than Thursday, but just have it be done by the next Tuesday.
Oh, excellent.
Um,
Yes.
yeah.
And
So
you're
if you
right with
wanted,
Monday. We changed into Monday.
yeah, that should be fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have a conflicting schedule on Tuesday.
Yes. Well, it's just recently that some ministry reaching me out to have meeting in Tuesday,
Okay.
so it's not like regular basis, just one time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Thank
fine.
you. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Well, we can go ahead and start looking at lesson 14, which I believe is where we're supposed to pick up today. Well, so pronomial suffixes, it's on page 28. Pronomial suffixes with the masculine singular nouns. And the good thing about these next few lessons is that they basically all have the same endings, all the different pronomial suffixes, where the masculine, the feminine, the plurals are a little different, but they're pretty similar. So that if you get familiar with one of them, you'll kind of be able to recognize them fairly easily. So we'll just go ahead and start with these ones. The suffixes attached to nouns are examples of the construct state. So my horse is literally horse of me. So we learn about the construct state with two or more words that are just right next to each other, and it composes one idea. And we looked at the ones with the makef, that little dash. But the pronomial suffixes are also an example of the construct state. So it's like having the word horse and then having the word me and just literally making them one word, not even like without the makef. Um, and so it would literally be like horse of me, susi.
Sushi.
And we translate it as my horse. So it denotes possession of that thing.
What does CS stand for? Once first person CS?
Common singular.
Oh, common
First
singular.
person common singular. And that just means that it works for masculine or
And
feminine.
okay, got
So
it.
yeah, so if a female speaker were to say it, it would be the same as if a male speaker were to say it.
Mhm.
And it's the same on the other side. It says one CP
Yes.
on the right.
Susano.
It's common
Susino.
plural.
Yes.
And then the other ones are masculine and feminine, the M and the F.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we'll just go through this chart and I'll read through it starting on the left side. So susi is my
Sushi.
horse.
Yep.
Suska, your horse.
Suska.
Susek, your horse feminine. Suso, his horse. Susah,
Susa.
her horse.
Susa.
And Susah has a little dot in the final he there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is called a mapik, if I'm remembering right. It's not the dagesh, but it's just letting you know that this he will be pronounced. It won't be completely silent. So you make a breathing sound with it, like.
Susa.
So yeah,
Yes.
it's hard to hear on the computer, but it's
Yes.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the plurals: susenu, our horse;
Susenu. Yeah.
suscam, your horse, masculine, plural; suscan, your horse feminine plural, Susam, their horse masculine plural, and Susan, their horse feminine plural. Okay, and you could also say like horse of me, horse of you, horse of him, horse of her. And then on the right side, horse of us, horse of you, horse of you, horse of them, horse of them. So if you wanted to be really literal with it, you could do it that way.
Yes.
Okay, so one or two things to notice here. With susenu, there is the accent mark on the upper right. So it's not
Yep.
susenu, but it's susenu.
Susenu.
And with on the right side of the chart, the masculine ones end in mem. They have a final mem at the end. So suscam, your horse, the second one there. The second from the last one is their horse masculine, susam.
Sorry,
Those
which
both
one
have
again?
a mem. Oh, sorry, which one? The second one on the chart, your horse, 2 MP, the second masculine plural. And then the second to last one, their horse, 3 MP, third masculine plural. They both end in a mem, the letter mem. And that's just an easy way to tell that they are the masculine ones.
Feminine,
yeah, and then the feminine ones end in nun, the final nun there on suscan and susan. Okay. Our horse on the upper right-hand corner ends in nu. And so we've seen that before, like Adonai Elohenu, the Lord our God.
Yes, I remember.
Something to notice about the lower left-hand corner, susah, is that it has the normal feminine ending of kamet he, but it's just the aspirated he, the he that makes a sound.
The mapika.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much this. And then with his horse, it has the holum ending, and then your horse has the ka ending. So basically, all these sounds, and then the first one, susi, all these sounds will repeat, kind of just throughout these paradigms, throughout these charts. So we can keep going then, unless you have any questions about this so far.
I think it's pretty much self-explanatory.
Kind of makes sense. Yeah. Okay, good deal. Okay, no changes in pointing occur when these suffixes are attached to monosyllabic words, so just words of one syllable, such as sus. But changes do occur in words with 2 syllables, such as davar. The accent is drawn to the suffixes, resulting in an open syllable 2 places to the right of the accent. And so we've seen stuff like this before. We've noticed we have the accent, we go 2 syllables away, and then the vowel will change. It will volatilize or shorten. But it's the same here. A vowel in an open syllable 2 places to the right of the accent volatilizes, it gets shorter. So the example here is from davari to duva. So from the a to the shiva. Okay. So we'll go through this chart as well, and we can note the changes that occur. So my word, duvari, my word. Duvaraka, your word. Duvarek, your word, feminine singular. Duvaro, his word. Duvarah, her word. Duvarenu, our word. Duvarkam, your word, masculine plural. Duvarkan, your word, feminine plural. Duvaram, their word, masculine. And duvaram, their word, feminine. So the final parts are all the same, but the vowel pointing has changed a little bit from just the basic davar to the duvari. And it notes that in the second masculine plural and the second feminine plural, the suffixes are attached to davar as the word is written in the construct state. So the absolute is davar and the construct is duvar. So it's not duvarkam, but duvarkam. And it's not kametz, but pathach. the second masculine plural, and the second feminine plural.
Sorry,
And
Stephen.
it's basically just if we were
sorry
to
to-
write out.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
are we losing it again?
No. It is just my son, I think, took my printed material. So he took exactly in the next page of this lesson. So I need to find the one that you sent.
Oh.
I printed this and he just took it.
Okay.
Sorry about this.
That's so good.
Yeah, I was trying to memorize what was that, the one that for exam, and yeah, and then he came and took some of it.
Okay.
I just gonna it's supposed to be page 25, right?
Right now we're on page 29.
Oh yes, 29. Hang on. Scan 03. How about this? This is the lexicon. I'm sorry about this.
That's good.
29. It's supposed to be in this one. Did you send it through? Do you remember which file?
I'm not quite sure which file it would be. What pages are you missing?
I'm missing page. I'm missing page 20. 25, 26, 27. I'm in the page 28 and I'm missing 29 and above.
Okay, so do you need 28 and 29?
Yeah, 28, 29 and above.
Okay. Let's see if I can. And just going forward from those?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I got you. Why don't you keep looking and see if you can find that file, and I will try and send you a new copy of it. So if you don't find it, we'll see whichever one of us finishes first.
Thank you. I look for it. So the scan.
Yeah.
The scanned one that you sent started with page 30. So I only missing one page.
Oh, okay. So you're just missing page 29.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just realized.
Okay. I should be able to just get that to you pretty quickly then. Hang on one second.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to send you a picture of it.
Yes.
And I can get you. So I've sent that now to your email. And I can get you the like kind of a more PDF kind of a version after class.
Thank you. All right, got it.
Okay. All right, so why don't we run through this chart one more time then?
Yes, please.
On the upper left-hand side, starting with my word, you have
Mhm.
Duvari, my word. Duvarka, your word. Duvarek, your word feminine. Duvaro, his word. Duvarah, her word. Duvarenu, our word. Duvarkam, your word masculine plural. Duvarkan, your word feminine plural. Duvaram, their word masculine, and Duvaran, their word feminine. Okay. And in the second masculine plural and the second feminine plural, the suffixes are attached to davar as the word is written in the construct state. So they're not attached to davar or davar as in the absolute, but rather davar. So under the beth, the kamets will change to the pathak, just as if it's written in the construct form, the form with the maket.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's davarkam and davarkan, which those are different from all the other ones. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this is change. Sorry.
Yeah.
So most of it, if I'm seeing this right now, the one who changed, like you say, is in the construct is only your word for masculine plural and your word for feminine plural, right? In the pathak, is that what you're saying? You were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two that are different from the other ones. Everything else, if you look under the beth, the second letter, on all of them, there's a kamets.
Yes, kamets.
But under your word masculine plural and your word feminine plural, there's a pathak, and that's basically the difference. And then in the little chart beneath this chart, it says absolute and construct.
Yeah.
That's kind of telling you you're attaching it to this right side form, the construct form, duvad. So you kind of attach the ending cam or can to the construct. So you get duvad cam and duvad can.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if a guttural letter is in an open syllable, two places from the tone or the accented syllable, so tone is just another word for the accented one, the guttural will take a composite shiva. So we have the word amal, trouble, and then amali, my trouble. So the composite shiva is just, we remember with the short vowel and the shiva next to it, and it's pronounced a little bit shorter, like a little bit faster than the normal short vowels. So we see in this example, the initial ayin is a guttural letter, and it's an open vowel. It just ends in a without a consonant. So under that circumstance, because it is two away from the accented final syllable, we have the composite shiva. So that's just kind of a note on the vowel pointing there.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through the vocabulary for this one. On the left side of the chart, we have sar, he turned away. Sar. Yare, he feared. Yare. And fear as a noun, yera. Yera. We have tongue, lashon.
Lashon.
We have generation is dor. Generations of is toledoth.
I've heard this before. Toledo. Toledo. Yeah. The shiva is open. I mean, you say the shiva.
I believe you will say the shiva on this one because it has the long vowel before it. So the holem comes right before.
Yes.
If it's a short vowel, the rule is that it is not pronounced. So if it's a long vowel, it should be pronounced. I believe that's how it should be there. Toledoth. The next one is Abram. It's Avram.
Abram.
Name is Shem.
Shem.
Forever or eternity, Olam. Straight, upright is Yashar.
Yashar.
And finally, with is Im. Okay. And with Yashar, straight or upright, I'll just point out in one or two places in the Bible, they actually mention a book called the Book of Jashar. And that is what I believe is what this word, it's referring to this word. Jashar, like straight or upright. And it's used to mean like righteous ones, people who are upright. So it references like something like, is it not written in the Book of Jashar? And we don't actually have the Book of Jashar, but it's apparently based on that word, or it just is that word, it would seem. Okay, so we can go through a few of these exercises. We have number 1. Ze shemi le'olam, v'ze v'rithi le'dor v'dor.
Ze shemi le'olam, v'ze v'rithi le'dor v'dor. Vador. Yes.
Right. Either way.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to take a stab at translating this one?
Yes, exactly. I'll write it down first. Shemi.
So this will be using the pronomial endings here. So we have shemi as the first common singular. So it's
My name,
my.
right? Yeah.
Right. And then we also have varithi. So it's kind of like applying these pronomial suffixes here.
Varithi, okay. So le'olam. This my name. Which one is of eternity? Of eternity. This and this. Verity in my covenant. The door in generation and generation. Okay, I'll translate it into literal first, yes, and then.
Yeah.
So this my name of eternity, and this my covenant in of generation, not in of generation and generation.
That's good. The prepositions are a little bit different from what you had. So you had this is my name. That's good. And le'olam. So you got all the main nouns correct. That was good. The preposition lamed means to, for, or belonging to. So in this case, it would be, this is my name for eternity.
Yes.
Okay, and then it goes, v'ze v'rithi, and this is my covenant. And that initial beth there is not a preposition. It's just part of the word berith.
Yes.
Good. And then we have ledor vador. So again, the same lamed. So it would be to generation and generation. So that was good. Okay. Yeah, that's good. You want to try sort of a smoother translation with that.
Okay. So, so this is my name of this. You said of, right, or two? Oh, two.
It would be like 2 or 4. So like 2 eternity or 4 eternity.
Okay. This is my name. My name is to eternity, and this. Hang on. And this is my covenant. And this is my covenant for generation and generation.
Yes, good. And you could also translate le olam, so zeshemi le olam, simply as forever. So this is my name forever.
Okay.
So it's kind of like saying for forever, which in English would be more natural just to say forever. And yeah, and then the final part, and this is my covenant. It's like to generation and generation, or for generation and generation. And you could possibly translate this like from generation to generation, or
Yes.
something along those lines. But yeah, that's good. And there might be a few different ways you could potentially translate it and get the same idea. Okay, good. Let's do number 2. We'll just do a few of these.
Yes.
We have Halak Avram ka'asher deber Adonai.
Halak Abram ka'asher diber Adonai. Halak. That's a definite article, right? The first half. Oh no, it's halak is vocabulary.
Yes, yeah.
He walked.
That's a good question. That's yeah, that's you just kind of have to know the vocabulary to be able to tell if it's a
Exactly.
definite article or not.
Yes. Okay. He walked Abram. Ka'asher. Ooh, the prefix ka. Hang on, I forgot the prefix ka. By, is it by ka?
This one's a little bit tricky because it is like it's the preposition ka, but it is actually its own word, like ka'asher. It's a word that's formed by taking ka and asher, but it's considered its own word, and it means just as. So ka'asher, just as.
He walked Abram just as Diber. Just as Diber. Just as speak the Lord. So he walked Abram just as speak the Lord. Just as speak God. Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. So kind of what would be sort of a smoother translation of it then?
Abram walked just as the Lord spoke.
Yes, perfect. Okay, excellent. We'll do number 3 on this one, and we might do 4 also, and then we'll move on. Okay. V'kol asher kara ha'adam hu shemo. I'll say that one more time. V'kol asher kara ha'adam hu shemo.
V'kol asher kara ha'adam hu shemo. Okay. And all as Kara. Kara. I remember that, but I forgot Kara. Kara. First, Adam, the man. Who? Who is the pronominal? Hang on, pronominal third person singular?
Yes.
Okay, him.
But it also means that. It can mean he, or it can mean that.
Okay. He and that. Shemo. I forgot Kara and Shemo.
Okay. So shemo is shem with the o suffix attached.
Oh, that's mean, yeah.
Okay. And kara is he called. He called.
Ah, yes. So, okay. And all as he called
And all
the
that
man.
he called.
Oh, sorry.
And all
And
that
all
he called. Yeah.
and all that he called the man. What is Shemo once again?
Shemo is the word shem, name.
Oh, Shem, name. Ah,
O attached.
okay.
So shemo would be one of the suffixes, one of the possessive suffixes.
Hang on. And all that he called the man. The man that Shemo, that Shem. Is that right? And all.
The man.
Sorry.
Oh no. The final word is his name. His name. So shemo. So we would have like shemi, shemka, shemek.
Yes.
Shemo. Right. So
Sorry,
this one will be
I thought you said Shem as the name in the Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, yeah.
It's the name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that might actually be spelled the same way. I'm not sure. But yeah, in this case, it just means name. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so yeah, so it would be, and all that he called the man that his name. So that would be kind of the very literal translation.
And all that he called the man his name, right?
Yeah, it would be that his name. Because who meaning that here. Yeah, who can mean he or it can mean that. So this is taken from the place where Adam is naming the different animals in Genesis. So this one was actually a little bit tricky for me when I was looking at this one. I sort of went back and looked at it and I was like, okay, so now it makes sense. So this is like V'kol asher karaha Adam, and all that the man called. It says that was its name. So that would be kind of how you translate it. So he's naming the animals, so anything that he called them, that became its name. Okay, so does that one make sense then? And all that the man called, that was its name.
It was his name, yes.
Okay, cool. And yeah, and you can say its name here instead of his name, just because we're referring to animals in context. Or you can keep it at his name. Okay, number 4. We'll do this one last and we'll move on to the next one. Ze Sefer Toledoth Adam. Ze Sefer Toledoth Adam.
Ze Sefer Toledoth Adam. Okay, so Ze is, I remember, Ze is this, right? This.
Right.
This. This is the book. Generation
Right.
of Adam. So this is the book
Right.
of Adam generation.
Yeah, you could say that, and you could say this is the book of the generations of Adam, or you could say this is the book of Adam's generations.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. And one way you can do these when you have a construct with multiple words in it, so instead of just two, this one actually has three, Sefer Toledoth Adam, you can kind of just add the word of between each word. So like the book of the generations of Adam. And that will give you the sense or the meaning of what it's saying. And then you can kind of smooth it out however you think is appropriate there.
The book of the
Okay. Does that make
generation
sense?
of Adam. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. All right, good job. Why don't we go on to lesson 15? Pronomial suffixes with feminine singular nouns. And again, this is basically the same as the previous one, except the main change is the he becomes tav. So from the silent he to the pronounced tav. So most feminine nouns ending kamet he. Since he is a quiescent letter, the letter tav replaces the he when the suffixes are attached. So instead of just having nothing at all there, so like tora'i, or even saying torahi, they just change it to torathi. And you can tell, and the letters kind of look similar if you look at tav and he. So it just kind of, it sort of feels like it makes sense, you know, that they replace it that way. The suffixes are the same as those attached to the masculine singular nouns. So we'll run through these. Torathi, my law.
Torati.
Torathaka, your law. Torathik, your law feminine. Toratho, his law. Torathah, her law. Torathenu, our law.
Hello.
Torathkam, your law masculine. Torathkan, your law feminine. Toratham, their law masculine, and Torathan, their law feminine. Okay, and this again, like if you're just wanting to sort of go through these, you can just kind of say them, maybe try and say them faster or slower. So like you can go Torathi, Torathaka, and then you can also try and get faster and say Torathi, Torathaka, Torathik, Toratho. You can kind of do different ways of practicing it and memory things. But fortunately, it is essentially the same as the first chart there. So no changes take place in the pointing of Torah, since Holem is an unchangeably long vowel. So a few lessons back, the unchangeably long ones are the ones with Yod and with Vav. The word Sadaka, righteousness, illustrates changes to pointing when the suffixes are attached. So Sadaka does not have an unchangeably long vowel, so it will have some changes. So you can notice the difference between Sadaka and then these words. And I'll just go through these quickly here. We have Sidkathi, Sidkathika, Sidkathik, the next page, Sidkatho, Sidkathah. And we have, why don't we say these ones together? Sidkathenu.
Sidkathenu.
Sidkathkam.
Sidkathkam.
Sidkathkan.
Sidkathken.
Okay. Sidkatham.
Sidkatham.
And Sidkathan.
Sitkatan.
All right, good. So that'd be their righteousness, feminine. Okay, so this one, it just kind of makes sense. It's just sort of pointing out the vowel changes that occur. So it says, observe what takes place. It kind of walks us through what's happening. When the suffix is added to tzedakah, the accent is drawn to the suffix. So that's normal. The final part gets the accent. So we have tzedakathi. The vowel in the open syllable, 2 places from the accent, volatilizes. So tzedakathi.
Yes.
This leaves 2 vocal shavas at the beginning of the word. So we have shava, shava, they both make a sound. So the first shava becomes hirek, while the second remains vocal. So we move from the top to the bottom, so tzedakathi to tzedakathi, to finally sidakathi.
So hang on. So from the beginning, sedakati,
Right.
Sedekati, sidekati.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the progression that it's going through.
And always vocal, right? The siva.
Yeah, so the rule is when you have 2 vocal shavas at the beginning of a word, then the first one changes to hirek and the second one remains vocal.
Vocal, yes.
So when that happens, that'll be the case. I think it is possible to have a hirek and shava that are just next to each other, and it's not vocal. So like it would, I can't think of any examples, but basically if the word changes to have a hirek shava, then the shava is vocal. But if it just naturally has a hirek shava, then it wouldn't be. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it changes, it usually vocal with hirek, right? Okay.
Yeah, so that it changes from 2 vocal shavas to hirek vocal shava. So in the second masculine plural and the second feminine plural, these are the same that changed last time. The suffixes are attached to the feminine singular noun as it is written in the construct. So sidakath.
Sidakath.
Yeah, with the makef there. Okay, so
Sidakath.
Sidakath.
Sidakath. Oh yeah, Sidakath. Okay.
And I might have even pronounced these without getting the vocal shava just a minute ago, but it should be the vocal shava there. Okay. In fact, I did. So this is the same change that happened last time. In the first chart, the masculine plural and the second feminine plural, those are the ones that are taken from the construct form. So it's the same here as well. Okay, when a guttural is in the position of the tzadeh, so the first letter, it takes a composite shava. When 2 vocal shavas appear at the beginning of a word, the composite shava becomes the corresponding short vowel. So it's kind of like the change that it just talked about of having the 2 vocal shavas. But now, if the first letter is a guttural letter, then instead of having the it'll be kind of a different change. So if it starts with a composite shava, as in adama on the left side, so notice that one's composite, it'll just change to the normal short vowel.
Okay.
So adamathi.
Adamathi. This is only for the
Just the gutturals, yeah.
And into the still in the feminine pronominal or not? And is it in that still in that context?
I think this is applying just generally. If you have the vowel change at all and it's a guttural, then it'll change from the composite shava to just the normal vowel that corresponds to it.
Okay.
So that's the change you can expect to see there. And again, fortunately, all the changes that take place generally make pretty good sense. Like it changes from a long A to a short A, from A to A, or it just changes to a shava, which is kind of the the simplest thing it can possibly be.
Mhm.
Or it changes from a composite schwa to the same vowel. And the sound is the same. Okay, so we'll keep going. Possession. Hebrew has no verb meaning to have. Possession is expressed in the present time by the use of two particles, yesh, there is, and en, there is not. You just add that word in there. So yesh li ven, there is to me a son. Yesh li ven. Okay. So it's almost like, and the word yesh kind of sounds like the word yes in English.
Yes.
So that can be a way to sort of remember it. So like, yes to me a son, like there is to me a son. And then the word en is there is not. So en li ven, there is not to me a son. And then that li there is just the preposition le, to, and then attached with the first common singular e. So li, to me. So yesh li ven, there is to me a son. En li ven, there is not to me a son. And then we have lesh la ish ben. I'm sorry, yesh la ish ben. There is to the man a son. And en la ish ben, there is not to the man a son. Okay. So does this kind of make sense?
I just feel strange for me.
Yeah.
I mean, like possession. For example, if you translate the first line, yes, li ben. Does it yes li ben? Does it mean that this is my son like that?
It doesn't mean this is my son, but you can think of the word yesh as meaning there is. So there is to me a son, or you could say there is for me a son, or you could say there is belonging to me a son, or so you could flip that around and say a son belongs to me, something like that. Okay, so but basically this is how you indicate possession, whether or not you have something. So if you do have a son, you say yesh li ven. If you do not, you say en li ven.
Yes, li ven.
And it's the same with anything else. If you're talking about somebody else or anything, so we have lesh. I'm sorry, I keep doing that. We have yesh la ish ben. There is to the man a son, or en la ish ben. There is not to the man a son. So if you want to kind of consider those as like vocabulary words, then you could think of yesh as meaning there is and en as meaning there is not. So that basically gives you the meaning of it.
Yes. Okay.
Possession in past time. So that was the present. So you're talking about what's currently happening now. But possession in the past time is expressed by haya, that verb meaning he is or to be. So in this case, haya would mean it was. So haya li ven, there was to me a son. Or lo haya li ven, there was not to me a son. And this one you just add the particle lo, which just means not. It kind of sounds like the word no, so like lo.
No.
And that's basically what it means. Okay. So possession in the future time is expressed by the use of a form of the verb to be. So this is another form of the same word. We have haya, and then here we have ye. And this is the cal imperfect form, I believe is what it is here. And the imperfect is often used to denote something happening in the future. So it not always, but it can be used that way. Sometimes it can also be used to mean something happening in the present. And we'll talk more about that. I think it should be next week. We'll start on those. But basically, sort of like a preview of it, I guess, is here. And the basic meaning of the imperfect is like something that's continuously happening. So it's like it hasn't ended yet. But with that meaning, it can be used to indicate something in the future. So it's kind of like something that in English we don't like. We think in terms of like the past and the future tense, but in Hebrew they don't really have like a past and a future tense. They have a perfect and an imperfect, but perfect can be used to indicate past, and imperfect can be used to indicate future. So it's just kind of a little distinction there. But actually, both of them could be used to indicate something in the present as well. But the perfect is more like something that's a completed action, if it's talking about the present, and the imperfect is like an ongoing action in the present. So it kind of depends on context, how you're going to translate it and what you're saying it means. So for example, if you have like a prophecy and somebody's talking about like, in 70 years from now, and then they use the imperfect tense, then you could translate that as the future. The kind of so like you tell by the context what it means.
So if
Anyway,
so
we'll talk more about.
If you use, for example, in the Bible, if we saw, if we see like prophecies in the books of the prophets, can you use this word ye yeah, or have there been any sentence with this word ye yeah?
There's definitely a lot of words with yeah, or a lot of usages of it. But really, the example I gave, I don't know that it appears really in the Bible very much. It's probably not a very good example, but just if you can tell by the context that it's referring to the future, then you could translate it as the future. But actually, and I would have to kind of look into this more, but a lot of times, from my understanding, they don't necessarily use the imperfect or a future kind of tense to indicate something that's happening in the future, and they can actually use the perfect. Again, if I'm not mistaken about this, and basically you can consider that there's a special term that's used that's called proleptic, like a proleptic prophecy, and it's kind of like saying it's so certain that it's going to happen, you can talk about it as though it's already happened. So like the city has fallen. But you're talking about something that's going to happen next year or a future time. So that is also possible in Hebrew. Okay. One example of yeah is that's how God reveals himself to Moses at the burning bush. He says, like, who will I tell them has sent me to the people of Israel? He says, I am that I am has sent you. So it's something like Ani yeh asher, something I can't remember, but it uses the word yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this is referring to more like the present and ongoing existence here. So it wouldn't really, I don't think it would be proper to say I will be who I will be there, but with the translation is I am that I am. So an ongoing sense. Okay, and then the opposite is just lo yeye li vein. There is not, or there will not be to me a son. Okay, vocabulary. We have lev or levav for heart.
Levav.
And this one, I believe, is an example of onomatopoeia where it sounds like the word, because it sounds like levav, 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 like the sound of a heartbeat. Kavod is glory. Kavod.
Kavod, yep.
We have tzedek, righteousness.
Tzedek.
Canaan, Canaan.
Canaan. Canaan.
Hine is behold.
Hine.
And then I believe this is saying hineni. So I think in this case it would be a vocal.
Hineni.
Although I looked one of these up and it was actually hineni with a tsere in an example with Abraham, where I think the Lord calls Abram. He says, like, behold me, like, here am I. So like hineni. So I guess just to mention that with like, it might be a different vowel pointing in different instances. Prayer, tefillah.
Tefillah.
Nation is goy.
Goy.
Nations is goyim.
And this is masculine plural, right? Goyim.
Exactly. Faithfulness or truth, emeth.
Emeth.
Okay. Judgment or justice is mishpat.
Mishpat.
And then host, like a whole bunch of people or even angels, sava.
Ah, Sabah. The Sabaoth.
Exactly, yeah.
Sabaoth, yeah.
So the Lord of hosts. Okay. Let's see. Why don't we just keep on going to the next lesson here. Lesson 16, pronominal suffixes with masculine and feminine plural nouns. So these ones will be a little bit different. But again, try and kind of notice the similarity of the endings, even though they are different, because they're pretty similar, they're close. The pronominal suffixes for plural nouns are different from those with the singular nouns. But again, they're not that different, really. So we'll run through these. And I'll say them, and you can repeat after me. We have my horses, susai.
Susai.
Your horses, suseka.
Suseka. Suseka.
Your horses, feminine singular, susayik.
Susayik.
His horses, susaiv.
Susai. Susai. With you say yes. Yot with va. Susayet.
Oh, yeah, this is a diphthong. So the kametz with yod is like I. So susaiv.
Susaiv, okay.
Her horses, suseha.
Suseha.
Yeah, and same thing there, like the segol yod is one sound here.
Suseha.
Our horses, susenu.
Susenu. Susenu.
Your horses, masculine, plural, susekam.
Susekam.
Your horses, feminine, plural, susekan.
Susekan.
Their horses, masculine, is susehem.
Susehem.
And their horses, feminine, susehen.
Susehem.
Okay. So you can kind of notice that, like, even though they are a little different, and we often have this, in fact, yeah, I think it is every one of them has a diphthong with the letter yod. So notice that there is a yod either as the final one, the final letter, or next to the final letter, or like it's next to the final sound. So notice that yod there, and it's each time it is except for in the feminine singular where it's susayik, but all the other times it is connected with the previous vowel. So susai, suseka, and then the masculine susaiv, suseha. And that's kind of how you can easily tell the plural. So when you see that yod with the vowel with it, and it's the same as in the masculine plural ending im, the hirik yod mem. It's the same kind of thing happening. So this is kind of like the clue or the indication that lets you know this is at the plural form. And notice also that the endings really are pretty similar. Like apart from that change of the yod being added and the sort of the vowel changing because of that, the diphthong, we still have a yod at the ending. So instead of susi, we have susai, but it still ends in yod. And we have suseka instead of ka. So it still ends in ka. Feminine still ends in ka. Third masculine singular still ends in a vav, even though it's pronounced differently. So instead of suso, his horse, we have susaiv or susau. I guess it would be with the V pronunciation. I find it easier to pronounce this susaiv. But I guess it would be something like susao, I suppose, if you did it with the W sound. And yeah, the feminine still ends in the kamet he. You still have the new ending. The kem and ken and hem and hen are pretty close to the same. I think it's ham and han for some of the other ones instead of hem and hen. So the final two on the right. But yeah, you can kind of notice that like these are very.
Yeah.
Okay. So no internal vowel changes occur when these suffixes are added to the masculine plural noun, susim. When the suffixes are added to devarim, changes occur in the pointing. We have devarai,
Devarai,
devareka,
devareka,
devarayik,
devarayik.
and notice the accent mark. So devarayik.
Devaraik.
Okay.
Yes.
Devaraiv,
Devaraiv,
devareha,
devareha,
devarenu,
devarenu,
diverekem,
diverekem,
diverekan,
yeah.
diverehem,
Diverehem,
and diverehen.
Diverehem. Yeah.
Okay, so rather than memorizing the changes that occur, the student should work out the vowel changes. When writing the suffixes with the plural noun, you can start with the masculine plural absolute form, which is devarim. So this is again kind of taking you through the vowel changes. Remove the masculine plural absolute ending, which is im, and add the first common singular pronomial suffix to get devarai. Okay, so the kamets under the initial daleth, the already has volatilized. So it's already a shiva, so no other change is needed. It can't get any shorter. When writing the heavy suffixes, so this is just another term that they use to describe kem, ken, hem, and hen, attach them to the masculine plural construct form, divare. So we see on the right side of the chart of the divarenu and on down, it is divarekem, divareken, divarehem, and divarehen. So it's vowels. So notice on all the other ones, again, underneath the beth, you'll see a kametz, but underneath these ones, we have the shiva. So it's attached to the construct plural form.
Okay.
And again, that's similar to what happened with the other ones, with the second masculine and second feminine plural being attached to a construct form. So that's kind of what we expect with these things.
Yes.
The suffixes with the feminine plural nouns are the same as those used with the
Hey, Steven. Ooh.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a bit.
Okay. We'll go through these ones. We have torothai.
Torothai. Yes, Torothai.
Torotheca.
Torotheca. Torotheca. Yep.
And notice the accent mark, so it'll be torotheca.
Torotheca. Yep.
Torothaic.
Torothaic.
Torothaiv.
Torothaiv.
His law, and torotheha.
Torotheha.
Right, her law. Torothenu.
Torothenu.
and torothekem,
Torothekem,
torotheken,
Torotheken,
torothehem,
Torothehem,
and torothehen.
Torothehen. Yeah.
Right, so it goes on down, and you can kind of like just sort of look over at the English side of it, and then just sort of pronounce and say the Hebrew. That way, if you're wanting to like practice through it or something, you don't necessarily have to say the English every time, unless it's helpful to you, whichever way. But you can just kind of look at it and then know this is what it's meaning as you go through it. So that's just sort of a way you can practice that. When a vowel in an open syllable under a guttural letter volatilizes, a composite shiva is used, as in anashai, my men. So that's a vowel in an open syllable, so not ending in a consonant, under a guttural letter. When it volatilizes, we have the composite shiva. So it's similar to what we had earlier with the composite shiva changing to the regular vowel. But so this is kind of something also that we expect. It's open syllable, guttural letter, volatilization. Composite shiva is used. So anashai. When suffixes are attached, when suffixes are attached to segolate nouns, so which I believe is just saying that the noun it uses the segol, the 3-dot one. They're attached to the base form of the nouns. So this is giving you the base forms. So we have the segolate form melek. The base form is malk. And the singular with the suffix then is malki, my king. The masculine plural absolute is mulakim, kings. The masculine plural construct is malke, kings of. And then the plural with the suffix is mulakai, my kings.
Mulakai. Mulakai.
Okay. And then we also have sefer, which is like sifra, which becomes sifri, my book. Books is sefarim. Books of is sifre. And my books is sefarai. And then it also has the one with holiness is kodesh. So then the base form is kodosh. It's like kodosh. So then we have kadashi, or just a kadashi. And then we have holinesses is kodashim, or I believe it should be the same, basically, kodashim. And then we have kudashe, or kadashe, yeah. Kadashe, holinesses of, and then finally kodashai, my holinesses. So yeah, some of these are the shorter one, the o kind of sounding one. So several nouns taking the pronominal suffixes have irregular forms. It says the student should become familiar with these irregular ones. So this is kind of a chart here of those. I'll just run through this top one, and you can take a look at some of these other ones, but just know that these are irregular. So they will have slightly different forms going on. We have av, father, singular absolute. Singular construct is avi, father of. The singular with the pronominal suffix is avi, my father. Plural absolute is avoth, fathers. So we can tell that's kind of different because it has the feminine plural ending, oth, but it's a masculine word. So avoth is fathers. And then plural construct, avoth, fathers of, and plural with the pronominal suffix, avothai, my fathers. So also take a look at these other ones and just sort of recognize that these will be kind of different. So like with wife, it'll have the aleph, but then in the plural forms, it doesn't have an aleph at the beginning, for example. And then the word ben appears quite a lot, so it's a word for son. So these are some good examples that it gives here. Okay, vocabulary. He dwelt is yashav.
Yashav.
Okay, he hated saneh.
Shane.
He dreamed kalam.
Lam.
He lifted up nasa.
Nasha.
He served avad.
Adat.
Dream, the noun, is halom.
Hello.
Sheep or flock, son.
Son.
Pit, bor.
Born.
Joseph, Yosef.
Chef.
Brother, ach.
Ach.
Until or as far as, ad.
Ad.
Okay. Why don't we do one of these exercises here? So we have Torath Adonai Tova V'Devarayv Adolam.
Torah Adonai Tova. Vudevarai. Vudevarai. Ad Olam.
Right. You want to try translating this one?
Torah Adonai. So Torah of God.
Yep.
Toba, good.
Right.
Whatever leave. So Vudevarai. I just see it. Vudevarai. To the law of God, good, and what is happening?
This is going to be the plural suffix here, because notice the yod at the end. It ends in yod
Yes.
vav.
The words.
So it's based on the word davar.
Devarai. So
Davar is word.
and the words Olam is eternal. What is Ad? I forgot.
Sorry, say that again.
What Olam is eternal. And
Yes.
what is
Olam is eternity.
and the word Ad?
Yeah, ad is one of the vocab words meaning until or as far as.
Yes, that one. Okay. So Torah of Adonai, good, and the words, and his words,
Yes, perfect.
and his word until eternal, until eternity, or eternal.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so what would you say is a kind of a smoother translation of it then? What's the idea here?
The law of the Lord is good, and his words last forever.
Yeah, you could say like last forever or are unto eternity or are forever, something along those lines. But yeah, so very literally are unto eternity.
I have a question.
Mhm.
You see that the word Torah, Adonai, Tova. Of course, we can say that just as good, but when we smoothing translationing it, we put like to be, right? Is good, but we don't have Haya there, so that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, often in Hebrew, that's what'll happen, where you just won't put the verb to be, and it's just kind of understood that it's there. So in English, we don't do that. So in English, we'll just add the word to be.
Okay.
So yeah, you'll see that quite a lot. Okay, excellent. Let's keep going, and we just might be able to get through all of these. So lesson 17. The pronomial suffixes with the prepositions. The suffixes with the inseparable prepositions ba and la, beth and lamed, are similar to those of the singular noun. So ba means like in. It basically means in. I think it can mean like by or with. And la means to, for, or belonging to. So we have bi in me,
B,
baka in you, bak in
Bak.
you, bo in him, bah in
Ah.
her, banu in us,
Anu,
bakam in you,
Bakam,
bakan in you, baham in
Bahem,
them, and bahen in
Hen.
them. Okay, so this one's pretty straightforward. It's just the normal endings with the prepositions. In poetry, though, the inseparable preposition kaf, ka, it's like as, like, or according to, appears in a longer form, como, como. The pronomial suffixes are attached to the longer form, except in the second and third persons plural. So notice that the exception, again, is the same exception as before, where it's the right side of the chart. The second feminine and masculine plural, and in this case, the third feminine and masculine plural are different from the other ones. And this one we actually saw in the Shema song with the second commandment that Jesus refers to. It says, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Right? It's ba'ahavta loreaka kamoka. So it's not kuka, but it's kamoka, like as yourself. Okay, so we'll run through these. Kamoni, like me.
Kamoni,
Kamoka, like you.
Kamoka, Kamot,
Kamok, like you, feminine.
Kamok,
Kamohu, like him.
Kamoku,
Kamoha, like her.
Kamoha, Kamoha,
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, but
yes,
kamonu, like us.
Kamonu,
Kamonu. And then we have it back to kind of the less poetic way, just the normal ka. So we have kakam, like you.
Kakem,
Kakan, like you,
Kaken.
feminine, plural.
Mhm.
Kahem, like them.
Ham, yes,
And kahen, like them, feminine.
Ham.
Okay. The preposition min often is reduplicated, or that means it just repeats itself when the suffixes are attached. So instead of just having one min, it will have like two of them right in a row. So from me is mimeni,
Many,
mimeni. From you is mimka. From you, feminine, mimek.
Mimek,
And then from him, I think we're breaking up again. Okay, from him, mimenu.
Mimenu,
From her, mimena.
Mimena,
Yeah, and notice that in from him, it ends in nu, which is different from the other ones, where normally it'll end in o, or that holam. So it still ends in a vav, but it's a different kind of vav, where it's a shurek this time. So this one is different, and it matches from us, mimenu. It's the same.
Amen.
So that one you just have to
Okay.
tell by context if it means from him or from us. And then we have mekam from you,
It can.
masculine plural. Mekan from you, feminine plural.
It can.
From them, masculine, mehem.
Mayhem.
And from them, feminine, mehen.
Mayhem. Okay.
Okay, so you feel like you're kind of starting to get some familiarity with these endings here, because they kind of repeat across the board like this. This e, ka, ka, all these different things. So that's one good thing about just Hebrew in general. It's like there's a lot of good repetition of these forms. So if you get familiar with one of them, you can kind of recognize a whole bunch.
Okay.
These forms, and this one notes that these forms are easily recognized without memorization. Note the reduplication in many is equal to min, minani, something like that. Min, minani. The nun with the silent shava beneath it cancels out and becomes a dagesh forte in the following letter. So if we look back up at the upper left side of the chart, see there's no nun after the initial mem, but rather there's a dagesh in the second mem. So that's kind of what happened to it. And that is very normal in Hebrew. When you have a nun, a lot of times it will cancel out at the beginning and become a dagesh in the next letter. And sometimes that can be helpful if you're trying to figure out what word you're looking at, where you would expect to see a nun. Then if you don't see a nun, but you do see that dagesh, then sometimes that can let you know the regular form of this word has a nun in it. So that's just something that kind of happens a lot. Okay, the third masculine singular and the first common plural forms are the same, and context determines the translation. So that's that mimenu that we looked at.
And yes.
The preposition if meaning with takes the suffixes. So this if is not to be confused with the sign of the definite object, which becomes uth, as in othi and uthka, etc. When the suffixes are attached, so that was back on page 26. So that's kind of the objective pronouns. So othi, uthak, all those. So this one means with me or with you, and it is pointed a little bit differently. So it's not to be confused with the other one. We have with me is iti.
Iti.
With you, itka.
Itka.
With you, feminine, itak.
Itak.
With him, ito.
Ito.
With her, itah.
Ita.
With us, itanu.
Itanu.
With you, itkam.
Itkam.
With you, feminine plural, itkan.
It can.
With them, masculine, itam.
Itam.
With them, feminine, itan.
Itan.
Okay, excellent. And we have the vocabulary for this one is he killed, harag.
Rack.
He found, matzah.
Matza.
Philistine is polishti.
Polisti.
Bear, dove.
Dove.
And lion is ari.
Ari.
Esau is esav.
Esav.
And with a lion, one memory way you can do it is like a lion named Harry, or like Harry, like Harry the lion. So, Ari. Shepherd is roe.
Where?
There is sham.
Sham.
So it's like referring to a place, like over there.
Mm.
Camel, gamal.
Gamal.
And he touched or he smote, like to strike, is naga.
Naga.
Okay, so we won't do these exercises right now, but if you go and look at the video, I think I go through a few of these. So you can kind of go through those on that. But let's try and get to the last lesson for today, which is 18. Pronomial suffixes of the plural noun with prepositions. While the inseparable prepositions, along with min and eth, take the pronomial suffixes of the singular noun, several prepositions take the pronomial suffixes of the plural noun. So sometimes it'll kind of have the plural looking form, but even though it won't be plural itself. So it'll just use that vowel pointing for certain prepositions. So upon me, for example, is alai.
Alai.
So notice that it is the pathak yod, the I ending, the plural ending, but it doesn't mean upon us or something. It's still singular, but it's just using the plural ending. So alai. And I think I've been confused by this once or twice when I've been looking at Hebrew stuff. So it's just good to kind of know this, just because it ends in the plural with the with certain prepositions, that's just how it's pointed. So upon you, masculine, aleka.
Aleka.
Upon you, feminine, alayik.
Alayik.
Upon him, alive.
Alive.
Upon her, aleha.
Aleha.
Upon us, alenu.
Alenu.
Upon you, masculine plural, alekem.
Alekem.
Upon you, feminine, or it's almost like upon you, women, aleken.
Aleken.
Upon them, masculine, alehem.
Alehem.
And upon them, feminine, alehen.
Alehen.
Okay. So al usually takes the pronomial suffixes of the plural noun when it appears in poetry. The construct form of al is ale.
Ale.
In the second and third persons plural, the suffixes are attached to this construct form. And the letter ayin, being a guttural, takes the composite shava. So again, notice it's the same on the right side of the chart. The second and third masculine plurals, they have ale, whereas the other ones all have the long comments underneath. So like alai, alekan, or aleka rather. Okay. So those sides will take the construct form, just like in the other ones.
Okay.
So we have another example with the word el, which means unto. So we have elai, unto me.
Elai.
Unto you, masculine, is eleka.
Eleka.
Unto you, feminine, is elayik.
Elayik.
And the next page is unto him, alive.
Alive.
Unto her, eleha.
Eleha.
Okay. Unto us, elenu.
Elenu.
Unto you, masculine plural, alekem.
Alekem.
Unto you, feminine plural, aleken.
Aleken.
Unto them, masculine, alehem.
Alehem.
And unto them, feminine, alehen.
Alehen.
Yeah, and again, it's the same where the second and third masculine plural endings and feminine plural endings all have ale, whereas the other ones are like elai, eleka, elai.
Yeah.
So, and they're all composite shavas.
Okay.
The prepositions akar, after, and takath, beneath, take the pronomial suffixes of the plural noun. So they're also plural. So we have akarai after me. It's akarai. And beneath me is taktai.
Taktai.
That is beneath me. So those are just two more that use the plural endings. Okay, so the vocabulary for this one. We have he drew near, which means like he came near. Karav.
Karav.
He lived. Kaya.
Kaya.
So notice with he lived, it looks very similar to the word to be. Haya.
Yes.
And actually, I think there might actually be some wordplay with this in the Hebrew Bible where it's recognized that they look and sound very similar. And I think that with like Eve is the mother of all the living, I want to say that there's some kind of a little bit of wordplay with that kind of thing going on. But her name is Chava, which is Eve, which is very similar to yeah, live.
Yeah. Hawa. Yeah.
And then we have Lot is Lot.
Lot.
Sword is Cherev.
Keref.
Field is Sadeh.
Shadeh.
Also is Gam.
Gan.
The place Shechem is Shechem.
Shechem.
Other or another is Acher.
Aker.
After or behind is Akar.
Akar. Aker. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are, you can tell these are like related words. They have similar meanings and they're spelled kind of the same. Then this one is wealth, goods, or property is Rakush.
Rakush.
Okay, and there are a few other ways to say wealth or goods or property in Hebrew. So I'll just point that out where sometimes you might see a word in English that you are familiar with. Then you say, oh, well, okay, if this is talking about wealth, maybe it's using the word rakush. And it might be, but it can also use other words like the word hon, I think can be for wealth. There's a osher, I think is also another one. So there's can be like, it's the same in any language really, where you can have one idea and several words that can represent a similar idea. And there might be some different nuances to them. So I'll just sort of point that out. And I think I go through some of the exercises on this one in the video, so you can go through those. If you want to do a few of these, you can. And the same with the English. And again, you can use the lexicon that's in the back of the book. Okay, so I think that should do it for this one. Do you have any questions for these pronomial suffixes or anything else?
No, I think I just need to keep looking at it and do the exercise. So if you memorize this, it will be difficult, but if you get used to it, I think I can see the pattern. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly right. And I would say if you want to memorize something, you could maybe just memorize like the masculine singular and the plural, the masculine plural, because those are different enough that it might be helpful to memorize them. But again, you're right. Like if you just kind of recognize this pattern, then you can tell what it's saying. And the pattern really does repeat a good bit. So you just kind of get more familiar with it. Okay, sounds good. So keep on going through this. Now this again, though, will not be on the exam. That's going to be for Thursday, but you can do it just any time before Tuesday. And yeah, and it should all be in the study guide. And again, it won't be like super hard, the exam. I try to make it where it's not like odiously just like really hard type of thing, but just kind of to help you go back and sort of have this focused study on particular things, Okay, I think that pretty much covers it. Anything else? that you have?
No, as far as I'm concerned. But hang on. I think I remember one thing before.
Okay.
Where was it? Oh yeah, in the I think you once mentioned in the page 36.
Okay.
What's it? I just cannot remember which one, but you say there is a noon with surek, similar with something else. I don't know where is it.
I know I mentioned the noon that becomes a dagesh. At the top of the page, we have memeni, so like from me. And instead of min many, we have memeni. So the noon drops out and becomes a dagesh. Is that what you're referring to?
Menu. Oh yeah, that's it. The first page 36 and mimenu, mimeni, and from us mimenu, and then from him masculine plural. Sorry, masculine singular mimenu. Yes, the dagesh with vav and surek, and the one in the top from us. Did you say that that's the one in the top? It's not surek.
It is
Dagesh,
shurek.
right?
So these two forms are identical. We have from him is mimenu, and from us is also mimenu.
Mimenu. Ah, yeah.
So this one is just kind of how it is on this one. And I think what I pointed out was that instead of ending with a holem, with his, like from him, usually when we say like the third masculine singular, like his ending, you'll see a holem there, the vav with a dot over it. But here you have a shurik, a vav with a dot to the left of it. So instead of o, you have u. So that's kind of what I pointed out there. That is unusual for that, but it still ends in a vav vowel. So that's what I was saying. Like, it's still similar to the other ones, to the normal third masculine singular his endings, but the difference is instead of the holem, it is a shurek. So still a vav, but a different kind of vav vowel. Does that make sense? Yeah, and it is a little bit tricky on that one because it's identical to from us, which normally ends in nu. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with that one. And yeah, and the initial noon will assimilate into the next letter. It'll go away and become a dagesh in the next letter.
Okay.
Very good question there. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
No. I think all
Okay.
this looks good so far.
Okay, excellent. Sounds good. So I'll see you guys next Monday then. And I've enjoyed it. So why don't we conclude with a word of prayer today?
Yes, please.
Almighty God, we thank you again for this time to just sort of gather together in this way and to put our focus onto the language of Hebrew. I pray again that this be a blessing for Dan and for Agung, that it help them just in the study of your word and in just the understanding of this language. Let it bless them and help them, God, in their ministry, in their personal study, and just in different ways, Lord. And let it also be a blessing to those to whom they minister. We thank you again for this opportunity, and I just ask that you go with us, that you help us to honor you, and yes, just please bless them with good insight and understanding and learning, and please bless me to be able to teach it in a way that makes it clear. And yes, we thank you for all your blessings, God. We ask that you forgive us for our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Help us to follow after you in all that we do. In Jesus' name.
Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Amen. Thank
All right,
you.
we'll see you later.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you on Monday.
See you Monday.